Hey, all, Dwarflord here. Really exciting news. Active of Firemaw just did a 55-minute, 3-second naxx, sub 60-minute naxx. That's incredibly difficult. So here's my interview with Caclock, the raid leader of Active. Only like 45 guilds in the whole world have done a sub 60 naxx. Phase 7, we've been working on this for more than a year and we still haven't got it. It's really difficult. So here's the final moments of their exciting raid, and then we're gonna get into the interview of all the different techniques and how they got this done.
Magic dust, magic dust, magic dust, magic dust, magic dust. CC, sweet shadow. Okay, it's on carrot. Go. Don't Roman, don't cleave. CC, sweet shadow. Magic dust on sweet shadow. On your mark. On your mark, on your mark. Holy waters now, sappers, let's go. Pump, go. Come on, nuke. Everything you got, let's go. Around 55. Yes, lekker guys, lekker. See, that's, guys, very good job. This is what we have been training for all these fucking months, right? Applause for yourself, Save your DMF. Click off your shit buffs, save your DMF. Boot your DMF. Yeah, boot your DMF. Next week, round 2 or round 3. Yeah. Good job, guys. Huge.
Thank you, Caclock of Active. This is the raid leader of Active. Thank you for joining me. I would like to hear a little bit about the history of Active on Classic Era.
Hey, hello. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, Active was basically born in, or created in the second week of Era, because quite a few people wanted to keep playing that game and not go to TBC. And it was a very, very small community. We first were in a guild called Troy, and the officers there, they were nowhere to be seen, the guy that invited us. So our idea was, okay, we'll make a new guild, and we call it Active, because we want to have people that are actually active officers. That's where the name comes from. But we were a very small group. I think we were around 30 people at the start, so we could barely clear Multicore and Blackman Lair. So yeah, we definitely came a long way, and over the time we started clearing that. And I think in July we killed our first Anuplicon when we stood into naxx.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about the population, your guild size, the server size, and any sort of like roster issues you have had.
Yeah, so originally the guild was created on the old cluster, the Gehenna's cluster, and we couldn't fill the raids there because we had like 35 people at most. So at the end of 2021, we migrated to the Firemaw cluster, and that's when we actually were able to fill our raids, and we were able to clear naxx in a few weeks. But still, the population was relatively small at the time. So we had a lot of changes all over the place. I think we started with 8 paladins and 3 priests, 3 druids at some point. So far from the perfect speedrun composition. So many people came and went over that time. And even lately, we have lost our main tank, or we replaced him in early December. We have lost our hunter puller that we have played with for over 9 months. So yeah, then you have to start teaching the new things how to do stuff. And yeah, that takes some time and effort. Mistakes will be made, and yeah.
Yeah, those are some important roles.
Definitely, yeah. Our hunter is still learning how to get on that level. So yeah, 9 months is a long time if you've been pulling naxx.
Absolutely. Now tell me, you beat your previous time, which was I think it was just over 60 minutes. And how did you make up that time? Like, how did you beat that time now by 5 minutes? Where do you think are the main areas where you made up that time?
Well, our first 1 hour and 2 minutes run was at the end of November. And I think, early December with 1 hour and 1 minute. And after that, it was very quiet for almost 3 months, and we didn't improve our time until actually last week we did a 1 hour run. And that was mainly because we were learning a lot of new tactics and implementing those and getting the raid team ready for that. So we kind of took a risk, or we went for sub 1 hour, or we tried to teach as much things as we can to each other, and we tried to implement that all at the same time. So we implemented a lot of those things, and that's kind of where those 5 minutes eventually shaved off from. We implemented the Gigaflux slime skip so that we run past those slimes. We use our helmets there to blow up all the slimes. When the whole raid uses that, the slimes basically get deleted up to a point of around 50%, I think I was calculated. So a few casters, they'll just finish it off.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So a lot of moving forward and minimizing any moving backwards.
That is correct. Yeah, always. This was something that I've been trying to teach the tanks as well for a long time. I like to watch a lot of speedrun videos in my free time, and pacing is obviously one of the most important things that you can save a lot of time with. But you need to have the raid in the mindset to keep moving forward all the time and adapt to that and stay with their tanks. And the tanks already moving forward while the mob is barely dead already.
Awesome, thank you. So now I want you to briefly talk about some of the key areas where you have implemented speed items.
Yes. This was also actually something that we didn't use for our 1 hour and 1 minute run. So our idea was like, okay, we'll implement speed items and then we'll easily break the 1 hour barrier, right? That was the idea. And we've changed that a lot over time. We use rocket boots after a noob recon. So we run out of that hallway and boost forward. We used swift boots and swift potions to run out of Ferlina's room because we do the Petri pull skip there to get out of there as fast as possible. We use another pair of Goblin Rocket Boots after Max now. So we run out of that into the Abomination Wing at the moment with that. And and we also use Nifty Stopwatch to jump over the Slime River on the way to Patchwork. We use Skull of Impending Doom to jump over the Green Slime River after you just have killed Patchwork. And then we use Goblin Rocket Boots or a Swiftness Potion after we kill Gothic on the way to 4 Horsemen.
Right, because you have the hunter pre-clearing, pulling all of that stuff.
If everything goes well, yes, which it didn't last Sunday. And one more thing, we use Swiftness Potion between Hegan and Lothar, so for the first time last Sunday. So
awesome. And we will talk after we go over some of your techniques, some mistakes that happened in your run. Run us through the Petri pull and explain what that is.
Sure. How we prepare for this pull is that first all the melee make sure that they had swift boots on, or every person that can wear leather, and that the casters didn't have a potion cooldown. And then we basically kept our distance from the paladin, and he uses an invisibility potion to get into the room and to gather up all the mob stand combined with his bubble. He pulls them to a corner, and then he uses his petrification flask. When he uses his Petri flask, the mobs tend to go back and forward towards the person. So this basically shocked us at that moment, and we decided to take a step back while running in. But then we went straight for Ferlina, and we started nuking it while slowly dragging it from the left side of the room to the outside, close to the web. When the boss died, and used all our recklessness, and when the boss died, we used our swiftness potions and our swift boots to get out of that room as fast as possible to make sure that the ads didn't catch up with us.
You did you wreck on Ferlina?
Yes, we used recklessness on all melee, but I think group 7 only didn't use wreck. So
okay, interesting.
Make sure that we could have get it. We had a lot of time left, so you could probably tweak a little bit with that in the future.
Yeah, okay, cool. So go ahead and tell me about the Gigaflux pull, as we'll call it, and tell me the item you're using and how long it took to practice this, because this is something that can go very badly.
Yeah, this is correct. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time with active, but I never found the right moment to do it. And at some point, this was also early December, I started trying to push people to farm their Gigaflux helmet. And then I think it was early January, so I think even February, almost 2 months later. And we decided to do this pool. And people were not ready. They didn't have their Gigaflux, and we wiped because of that, because we didn't have enough DPS.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of had to convince people, like, okay, guys, we really need to do it this way. You need to farm your Gigaflux. And a few weeks later, they showed up with even more. And the reaction when we actually pulled it off, all the people were so much full of joy and happy, and a very exciting moment. Because everybody was much against it that we did this tactic and thought that it wouldn't be as much of a time save. But yeah,
it looks so cool when those are all
really
going
cool.
up.
Yeah, yeah, it is a risk.
I see you using target dummies too, right? Is that what is allowing you to get by?
It's not necessary, but it definitely helps you to keep the mobs a little bit together.
Yeah.
The reason why I wanted to do this tactic at first was a long time ago, I think 6 months ago in active, we've had 2 wipes in a row during DMF that we pulled the belcher out of that room. And if you pull it out of the room to our side, basically, you're going to get the slime. And that chained them with the golems, and that created a very annoying situation, leading us to wasting 2 DMF resets.
Yeah, we've had a similar wipe.
So Junior AoE guys, I'm getting this pressure out.
Thank you, love food.
4-pack. We pulled. Stop. I got a sapper on these.
In the small ones.
Yes, casters on the small ones.
Get away from in the middle too.
Yep. Yep. Okay, this is bad.
Oh my god. Oh, we have all of them.
Yep, we got it all. Okay, so that's okay. Just we're gonna wipe here. It's a thing that happens. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The little ones of these spawns have an aggro radius buff that will get the big ones if he has a bad path. And yeah, he had a bad path. So
yeah, it's a very common problem with many guilds. But if you pull them out from the other side, the slime will never be able to pull those golems. So that is basically the main reason why I wanted to do that. Yeah.
So when you enter the Grobulus room, I've never seen people fight that 3-pack up against the right there. Can you comment on that, and then just talk about pulling Grobulus up the ramp with any sort of special considerations you needed to keep in mind there?
The first time that we pulled those stitch spewers to the side was actually my old guild before Era, and we did that to avoid Grobulus blocking our way when we had to go to those 3 stitch spewers in case he would start at the left side. Mm-hmm. So make sure we get those out of the way. We always started at the right side, and I implemented that as well in Era. And we even at some point we even did it in a pillar closer to the door, so that we pulled all the spewers towards us. But this was a bit of a risky tactic because we had to use target dummies every time a wave was incoming to make sure that no healer got clapped. So we changed that a little bit because if people forget to use their dummies, then people might die. A healer might get aggro. But this way we ensure that we're not getting blocked by Grobulus if he's coming down. After we kill all those mobs in the room, we tend to fight Grobulus going upstairs. The reason for that is that we can keep moving forward and we're not actually going backwards into the room like a lot of guilds do.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a risk tactic. Yeah. Because when the tank goes over the ledge on the first platform, that can be a line of sight issue. So the healers really have to be aware. If you're unlucky and you pull Grobulus while he comes down the stairs, he can also drop a poison cloud in the middle there. And those poison clouds are expanding and hit through all the levels of the floors. So that can cause a very dangerous situation for your casters that are running up those stairs.
Right.
So you really need to maneuver around it then if possible. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you seem to execute the technique really well.
Thank you. I think that was actually the first tactique that I implemented in active that I went to naxx for and made screenshots on my own and spent some hours in there. That was the first one. Yeah.
Awesome. So one thing I noticed that you were doing is that you have separate sapper groups in the Heigen Gauntlet, and I just wanted you to walk me through why you're doing like that, and if you like, how much faster did you find you're able to move through that gauntlet when you're having the separate sapper groups?
I haven't really tested it by time, and it was actually something that we implemented, or that I decided to implement the day before we did the run. And the reason for it was that we wanted to implement more sappers into the raid. Mm-hmm. So we decided, okay, what are good locations that fit with our last week's timing, the 1 hour run, where we could implement sappers that we use as much as possible. And that place came to be because at the start of the military wing, we also do a AoE taunt with a lot of Death Knight captains. And we cannot use sappers there because we need those for the stable pool. Mm-hmm. So by already using our CD in the gauntlet, we get rid of those small little mobs that slow us with the poison. And we make sure that nobody accidentally uses his sapper at the start of the military wing. So that was basically a win-win for us that way.
Gotcha. Cool. One area that I noticed that you seem to save a lot of time is with your fairly risky stable pull. And so I'd just like you to walk us through how that worked.
I was looking at how other guilds were doing this and how much time it would actually save to do this. And it came to be around, I think, 30 to 40 seconds. So that was quite a big time save. So I was like, okay, how are we going to do this as well then? So a lot of times I was just standing there with a paladin, and we actually timed the run, how it would be when we would be running around those tables, thinking about how it would be if we would be picking up all those mobs with a bubble and speed potions. Mm-hmm. So the paladin uses, I think, a Skull of Impending Doom combined with a lip, and then he uses his bubble, and he drops a target dummy to keep the horses from him from a distance. He runs around the room, and the horses will then catch up to him at the other side. And when the horses are almost at the raid, I tell people to use an Oil of Immolation and then use a lip in time before the horses arrive. And then we run in there, and we use the casters prioritize Holy Water to do as much damage as possible, and the melee use their sappers. That's why we don't want to use those at the start of the wing.
Right.
And then they'll die within 6 seconds. So it's a really cool pool. It's very risky because if people don't lip, which has happened a lot in the past, many practice runs have failed. Even one of our DMF runs, where I decided to implement this last minute in February, ended here because we lost 8 people that didn't lip in time.
Yeah.
So
4 Horsemen are known to be one of the more difficult bosses in naxx, and typically they are all spread out into their own corners, but you're not doing that. You're stacking 2 of them together and cleaving them down. So can you talk to me about how you divvied up the raid group and made the 4 Horsemen cleave work properly?
It was a very risky thing to do. Because we didn't know at first if our DPS would be enough to actually pull this off. And then again, we actually do the military wing last. So you have to basically rely on having roll buffs there to be able to pull this off, because people are going to take a lot of damage from the shadow marks. And you need to have the DPS to kill the horses to be able to get away in time. And this was something that was quite a problem, because in our normal runs, we had to heavily rely on first having a clean run to be able to practice this in the first place. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really happen for, I think, over a month. So the tactics stayed laying here, and I've been thinking about it all this time, and making images and writing down the tactic and thinking which tank where and how many healers here and why, so that it's suited with all the groups. And I think a month later, I decided, you know what, we're just going to change the wing order for this week, and we're going to practice this. And it was a total fail the first time, I think, mm-hmm. because people didn't attack the right horse at the right time. They were nuking through the shield walls, so we couldn't get out in time. We had a double shield wall, Morgraine at 19%, so we basically were 1 second behind from pulling it off. Yeah. And so again, after that, I looked more into it, and I went through people their logs, and I told them, you're attacking the wrong horse at the wrong time. People, you need to bring whippoorwill tubers. You need to use your greater shadow protection potion at the right timing. All of that went to trial and error, and I think 3 weeks later we actually pulled that off for the first time, and that was a great feeling. Balancing out the melee DPS, like which one do I wanted to put on Blamo, which one on Zeliek. We basically sent all the casters to Zeliek and 3 melee, 2 melee to Blamo, and the rest of the melee they stay on Tane and Morgraine.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically didn't need to delete those before the Fort Mar goes and get away before the Fort Mar goes out. Also, damage becomes too much, and you basically die, wipe.
Well, you do it really well, so kudos to you. Alrighty, so we've covered now all of the different techniques that you've really mastered in naxx. But even though you did have an amazing 55-minute clear, it wasn't perfect, right? So what mistakes happened that night that, if they didn't happen, probably would have, things gone even better? So what kind of mistakes happened?
There were a few small mistakes that we pulled the golems a little bit slow between Plague and Spiderwing, for example. That gargoyles weren't picked up or pulled fast enough. Those are all very minor, but I think the biggest ones were Rasuvius. The priests were very slow with their taunts, and because of that, people were very eager to stop DPSing because they didn't want to get one-shot. And we lost 2 melee there, actually. So that had a big impact to our rate. I compared the logs this morning, and we actually lost out around 350k. 750k together with those 2 melee for the rest of the run compared to the other warriors that they were on par with at that time. So that's gigantic numbers. The other thing that went wrong was at Rasuvius, we have a hunter jump through the gate and pull basically the whole hallway as much as he can through the gate, so that we deal with that during the time to Gothic event. The hunter used his arcane shot there and generated threat, which made it unable for the priest to take those threat over. And he died there because he had his potion on a CD. He couldn't pop a shadow protection potion while pulling an acolyte. And that basically resulted us in losing, I think it's around 1.5 minutes that we lost because of that. So that was the biggest impact in that whole run. The other thing was also because we use speed items normally after Gothic, and we couldn't do that because all the trash was there. So that was a big time loss. The other thing was between the 4 Horsemen, Kill and Sephiron, we were a little bit slow with pulling Sephiron because we were trying to set up the groups properly and we were in combat. So we lost around 20 seconds there as well. And the third thing that had a big impact was that one of our warrior Fury DPS DC'd in phase 1 on KT. So we actually killed Kel'Thuzad with 39 people. That together, that was a lot of melee DPS that we lacked.
Yeah, so I mean, things went really well, but if they went even better, you might have, had 2 or 3 minutes faster.
Yeah, according to my calculations, when it comes to seconds, we could have saved around 3 minutes and 4 seconds more, and then we would have been 51, 59 in a perfect scenario, of course.
Wow.
So, and that's purely without the extra DPS that we could have gained from the melee staying alive. It's just pacing and pulling quicker, and So there's definitely much more room for improvement, which makes it extra exciting to keep doing these things.
You have a lot of different techniques that you've really dialed in well. What are the next techniques you're going to begin to implement?
We have been practicing 2 techniques at a time that we haven't put yet in a real live run, but we have tested this without world buffs in a non-DMF weeks. And one is that we grab all the spider packs in front of a Nubrican and we AoE that down. We had one attempt for this, one good attempt where half of the raid died because they didn't cleanse themselves fast enough with a poison elixir. And the second attempt was supposed to be before DMF, but we had a new paladin with us at the time because shifting roster or different people, and he buffed a blessing at the pool, and all the spiders came running towards us. So that basically made us lose that opportunity to try to test that pool. So we'll be working more on that after DMF. And the other thing is running into Saffron's room with the polarity debuff from Thaddeus. We've had 2 attempts by this now. And the first one, it was total chaos and people died because there was a priest drinking in front of the stairs. People didn't really understand what they needed to do.
Wow.
So the negative polarity was killing the plus and etc. And after that, we did one more attempt, and that one actually went really good. Moving into the room, so not actually using the debuff from Thaddeus, but just moving into the room with that debuff. But we didn't have roll buffs in that attempt, so we couldn't kill Saffron in that state because we didn't have mana. Yeah, it was very chaotic. Yeah. But the run-in went really well, so we're going to be practicing that more and more. And ideally, we're going to change the wing order, obviously, for this, because now we don't do Abomination last. So that's on the menu for sure. Yeah.
All right, Caclock and Active, once again, congrats on the first sub 60 naxx for your guild, and also you beat out China now, so basically you're number 1 on Era, so big congrats to that. I mean, it sounds like you have come a long way, right? It's been like a whole year-long journey of that guild, going from just progging Molten Core and Blackwing Lair to being able to sort of put a record on the board that you should be proud of. So thanks for taking the time to talk to me and breaking it down.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very happy with our achievements and all the people that support us and all my raiders.
Thanks for watching the video. If you liked what you saw, please comment and subscribe, and I would love to chat with you. I'm streaming now most evenings on YouTube Live here right on this channel, so pop in and say hello. Dwarf Lord out.